morning edition of the he's in brackets right now. Brenden Martin with us, the executive producer. Rob Browne here with you. We had a great time last night. Touchdown Club in Memphis. Houston Nutt was there. Great, gave a great talk. Got to spend a lot of time talking with him. He offered a lot of insight in what he thinks is going on in college football. We've got some comments from him we're going to play during the show. First guest, Jacques Doucet from down in Baton Rouge, and he covers LSU really, really. He's two-time Louisiana Sportscaster of the Year and sports director there at Channel 9 WAFB. And we're going to get his talk on LSU, what's going on down on the Bayou. Yancey Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline, will check in with us, and Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider. Okay, housekeeping notes. Okay. Smash the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner and allow notifications on your Android or iPhone device. Tell your friends, family, neighbors, everybody to follow us, Sidelines, on Twitter. Of course, we're live on YouTube and Facebook, and we're doing shows, 5 shows a week. We're putting out some SECU podcasts as well. We'll have one coming up soon on Oklahoma. What you think you know, what you don't know, what you're gonna know that you never knew you needed to know. You're gonna find out about Boomer Sooner here coming up soon.
Yeah, they're like the Texas A&M of sort of with their insanity stuff.
Yeah. And Oklahoma, by the way, I'm watching Fox Weather Channel last night when I got back from Memphis about 10:30. Man, they had storms. It's going to be a rough few days. Batten down the hatches, people. We're coming right at you. Pen and paper will be handy.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Jacques Doucet, man, welcome to the show this morning. College football never far from everybody's minds. We had Touchdown Club meeting in Memphis again last night. Last week we had Paul Feinbaum. Last night, Houston Nutt. Next week, Greg McElroy. And then June 10th, Cole Kubelik. They say you can't get a lot of these guys in the fall, so in the spring you get them. And, man, I tell you what, I was sitting at a table last night, and somebody showed me a picture of what Jim from Tuscaloosa looks like. I mean, it was a hell of a night, and I wasn't even drinking. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well, man. Houston Nutt, a very interesting character in the history of Southeastern Conference football. I believe when Nick Saban left LSU – on Christmas Day of 2004, he mentioned Houston Nutt as a possible replacement, as a guy who had always kind of made less with more, because Houston Nutt beat LSU quite a few times at Arkansas. And so he was at Arkansas and Ole Miss.
Yes, he talked about that last night. Yeah, and you know, he went to Ole Miss. He still loves Ole Miss. I mean, you know, it's funny. You are so lucky in your position. You get to actually talk to these coaches, and he was reeling off the names of all these players. They still text him all the time, and they say, "Coach, those are the best days of my life." He used to always say that to him in warm-ups when it was hot as hell outside, and he'd go, "Best days of your life, best days of your life." You talk. I think Houston Nutt could get you excited going to your own hanging, man. He's a trip.
He was something, you know. He won early at Ole Miss, now that I remember. And I think, you know, Ed Ogeron didn't win at Ole Miss, but I think he did recruit some players that helped Houston Nutt win early on. And then it kind of petered out. But, you know, certainly Houston Nutt did more with less. Certainly a few times.
He did. And you think about it, I forgot it was Christmas Day when Nick Saban left LSU. That just adds to – that's my mother's birthday is Christmas. And then Houston Nutt, think about all the stuff going on. You become almost invisible when your birthday's on Christmas Day. Or if you have children and y'all share a common birthday, because you just disappear. But we forget about Nick Saban leaving on Christmas Day, man. And what if the doctors had cleared Drew Brees to come to Miami? How different would college football be? I mean, you were right there in the middle of all this.
Well, it's interesting because the other day I emceed the Louisiana High School Sports Hall of Fame, where they induct a new class every year.
Wow! All right.
And one of the people that went in was Dr. Anderson, the one who did the surgery on Drew Brees and saved his career. Right?
Was it Dr. Andrews?
Andrews, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Dr. James
you know where
Andrews.
He's from, don't you?
Alabama, right?
Homer, Louisiana.
Homer. Well, of course. Yeah, so I read his bio and everything.
Yeah.
And I think he's been linked to Birmingham, Alabama, because that's where
he's Auburn's doctor in Alabama now. Yeah. He just retired technically, but he'll still be Surgeon Emeritus forever.
So he got inducted. He was part of this class because of what he did at Homer High School. Ryan Perilou went into the class as well. But so when he was leaving the stage, I said, by the way, thanks for saving Drew Brees' career, because he did the surgery and then the Saints got him in 2006 and the rest is history. And then Nick Saban got Dante Culpepper and that didn't work out. He was banged up, but there are some LSU fans out there that say, I don't care about the Saints. I wish that Drew Brees would have gone to Miami, and that would have prevented Saban from building a dynasty at Alabama. But that's water under the bridge. But it's always a fascinating topic to visit. But yeah, it was Christmas Day. The team left to go to the bowl game in Orlando, and he announced that night that he was leaving LSU. He did coach the bowl game, which LSU lost to Iowa, and then he went to Miami.
Yeah, and boy, we just forget what that was like. And then now, this is year 3 for Brian Kelly coming up. I got to ask you about Bo Davis. I think, and I say this to everybody, moves in the offseason, and some of them that are under the radar, but anybody that knows anything about college football knows the defensive line is critical. And Texas last year won probably 3 or 4 games because of superior defensive line play. We also know that LSU and great defensive linemen are as synonymous as Louisiana and the best food in the world. Have you had a chance to talk to Bo Davis yet? And because I know Nick Saban wanted him to get back to Alabama so badly, and maybe when he didn't get him, that's why he retired. I'm kidding.
I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet. I am supposed to. LSU gives me a sit down with Brian Kelly once a year, and it's supposed to be today at 1:00. So I've jotted down all my notes and questions that I want to ask, but certainly the position that LSU is in the most dire need right now is defensive line, interior defensive line. And it's not Bo Davis's fault, but certainly Brian Kelly, I think it was a week or 2 ago, he made a public appearance and said, we're weak at that position. That's why we brought in Bo Davis. That's why we, have these coaches. And they've kind of missed in the transfer portal. I don't know if that's Bo Davis's fault or it's just a product of current college football climate that to the highest bidder, to the person who's paying the most money, that's where they're going. But, certainly LSU with Mekhi Wingo and Mason Smith both going pro and then missing out on some defensive linemen in the portal, that's a dire need right now for LSU. So we'll see how they're able to get by at that position. But he was brought in for that reason.
Well, you talk about Mason Smith. He was injured first play of the 22 season in the Florida State game. He came back last year, and I'm not a doctor, but I always like to follow this, and I've got friends that are. About 85% of the recovery comes in the first 3 months. The rest of it takes about a year, and everyone always tries to speed it up. Was that maybe his problem this past year, or was it something else? I thought he'd do better. Yeah,
to quote a late great Toby Keith, how do you like me now? I mean, when he decided to go pro, a lot of people are like, what? Are you kidding? Yeah. I mean, because he didn't really, like you said, he had a disappointing year, it felt like. And then he goes in the second round of the draft. So not bad. But could he have gone in the first if he came back? I don't know. But he, when I was up in the press box, there were scouts there. I'd hear a lot of, He plays straight up. His techniques are bad. And it was very kind of head scratching because you would hear from a lot of former players, guys who were in the NFL, who would say, man, my guy's Mason Smith. He's great. He's going to be the next great one in line. And it just, for different reasons. And another thing too, I've jotted down here, Rob, is that, since 2019, LSU's had a new defensive line coach in 2020, 2021, 2022, and now they got a new 2023. So it's been 5 and 5 years. So they have not really developed a consistent voice there, and they've suffered a little bit. And so if Mason had the same coach for his 2-3 years here at LSU, that'd be a different story. But, we'll see what happens with him.
I agree with you on that. I mean, the changes, and that's what's so hard. And that was the big topic of the meeting last night, is that and everybody wanted to go build these facilities. And I know LSU's done it, Auburn, Alabama, Arkansas, everybody. And now, like you said, before the kids leave, there's 2 words that this discussion gets down to: how much? And that's changed. I mean, you can have facilities that maybe are okay, but it kind of goes hand in hand. Schools that have magnificent facilities typically have strong NIL, don't they?
Well, how much will I play and how much money will I get?
That's
what Saban said, right? And, I think that's that horse is out of the barn, and it's a dangerous horse. I mean, I always thought that when you go to college, you're there to prove yourself.
Exactly.
And if you don't, it's just like the real world, to the back of the line. We don't play you, you get fired, so to speak, and you got to go. Now it's like, this is a stick up. And what can you give me? What can I get? And then if you do give them what they want and they don't like it, or they're not playing, then they bounce in 3 months. And people who put up money are upset that they didn't get a return on their investment and so forth. I mean, that's what the movie Rudy was about, right? I died to run out of that tunnel just one time,
Right.
And that dream is lived by many people here in Louisiana. If I could play one Saturday night in Tiger Stadium, what an amazing experience.
And I remember a time when so many LSU players were leaving, like Mike Stonebreaker. He was just a badass linebacker, played at Notre Dame from John Curtis and River Ridge. And remember the picture of him sitting on a bridge, and it looked like the Chartres Cathedral in France. It was a great picture. It said, why are they, Mickey Joseph from Archbishop Marrero, went to Nebraska as their quarterback. That doesn't happen anymore, does it? Not much.
Yeah, I mean, certainly in the 90s when LSU was struggling and had 7 losing seasons in 10 years, and the end of Mike Archer and then Curly Hallman, you had your Warwick Dunns here in Baton Rouge who were told you need to play defensive back, and then went to Florida State and tore it up, and then, had this brilliant NFL career. Your Marshall Faulks, a lot of different guys just slid out of the state. And then when Jerry DiNardo came in and got Kevin Falk, that changed a lot of things. Even when LSU started losing towards the end of DiNardo, they had talent, which Nick Saban then started winning with. But you can't get every single person. And that's the knee-jerk reaction, Rob, is that every time someone's watching a game on Saturday and somebody catches a touchdown or rips off a run, and they say he's from, Monroe, Louisiana. It's like, why do we have that guy? It's like, well, he's playing in the Southern Conference, or he's playing in Conference USA or whatever. So you can't sign everybody from Louisiana, but certainly, when you miss out on big guys from Louisiana, which happened a few times, Alabama, Saban snuck in and got some big name recruits. It hurts.
All right, heading into this season, what are your biggest takeaways, positive, negative, concerns, whatever, from spring practice at LSU? Because incredibly, in the last 5 seasons, you've had 2 Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks, and arguably the top worst 2 or 3 defenses in school history. It's a tough deal, isn't it, to try to have that kind of offense and have a shutdown defense like the standard is at LSU. I think, let's face it, it's impossible in today's climate to do that. But you can still win a bunch of games.
I think in 2019, Rob, they had the perfect complementary defense. And my memories of that defense weren't as positive until I watched it the other day, the Clemson National Championship.
Yeah.
At LSU, and realized that LSU's defense, they fell behind 17-7 early, but then went on a pretty long stretch where they shut down Clemson. And this past year's defense is, it's made some of my notes. LSU third down defense this year, they gave up 45%. So basically every other, third down, the offense is getting a first down. And LSU forced 4 fumbles and had 10 interceptions. So they only forced 14 turnovers in the 13 games they played. I think a bunch of those came like against Army and some of the less significant competition. And so those are that your defense last year did not give you a chance in the big games. You scored 49 at Ole Miss. You still lost. You scored, you had 28 points in the third quarter at Alabama. You lost because, Jaden got knocked out of the game and you couldn't stop Alabama. So, you got to play complimentary. And in today's with the targeting and all that stuff, and as somebody joked, they played the NFL Open on CBS. It was like 1977, and they said every single play they showed in those highlights is now an illegal hit.
Yeah,
so
not bad.
It's all thrown out of the game. So you gotta. If you're a defender these days, it's tough, man.
It is, and you sit there and you think about the defensive linemen that LSU's had, and then the old 5-2 stopgap defenses and all. Now, that's back when the game came right at you. Now the game comes at you and splits in every direction with RPOs and everything like that. You've got to have a defense that's just good enough. And it's a lot like Florida State. In the early years of Bobby Bowden, they would have these great games on, and there were a lot of them on TV, but that was really before 1984, his first 8 years. And they would lose a game by 3 or 4 points, but it would be the talk of the town because it was so exciting. But he brought Mickey Andrews in 1984 as defensive coordinator, and that changed from 87 to 2000, that 14-year period. Florida State never finished outside of the top 4, won some national championships. You look at LSU, and this team, year 3 under Brian Kelly, he's won 10 games 2 years in a row. Are they going to make that big jump this year with Garrett Nussmeier at quarterback? He's a coach's son. He looks pretty damn good to me.
Yeah, I look back and I say, last year, was LSU that far away from going to 10-2 regular season, 11-1 regular season, or are they that close from falling to 7-5 because Jaden Daniels' I didn't say mask, but he overcame so many. I mean, there were certainly games where LSU's defense could not stop anybody, and Jaden's just pedal to the metal, outscoring the other guys with 2 first-round draft picks at wide receiver. Those 3 guys are all gone now. Garrett is very talented. It's going to come more from the pocket. He can run around a bit. Got some Johnny Manziel, Brett Favre, fired in the tight windows. Touchdowns here and there, interception here or there. I mean, that's the way he's going to play, I think. And then defensively, you can't be any worse. But I don't think the offense is going to have to come down some. Now, the question is the defense got to come up a bit too. And with those 2 things, the schedule is not murder, I don't think. I think when it first came out, a lot of people are like, oh, this schedule is so rough. But with Saban leaving Alabama comes here. Ole Miss might be picked, I don't know, pretty high. They come here, and LSU does not play Texas. LSU does not play Georgia. They do play Oklahoma. So I do think LSU certainly fans will expect paying a coach $10 million a year and paying these assistants the money they're paying them to be in the 12-team playoff. I think that is an expectation.
Yeah, and that's going to be a new standard. I mean, it's 9-3. I think in the SEC with strength of schedule, a 9-3 in some years is going to get you in the 12-team playoff. And 29 of the 40 spots in the first 10 years of the CFP have gone to SEC or Big Ten based on membership as of July 1st when Oregon, Washington, Southern Cal, and UCLA joined the Big Ten. So it's going to be fun. All right, when you look around the rest of the league, you mentioned Ole Miss. And you and I both know that Ole Miss program pretty well. Yancey Porter will be on in a minute. Rebel Yell Hotline. They've always been chasing. There's an old question that we were asking one time, much of us sitting around drinking some road sodas, what the hell would ever happen if the dog did catch the UPS truck? Now Ole Miss is the hunted and going to the Grove, and hopefully we're going to play well. Now it's you're like the Spartan mentality, in like my wife is a Vol for life. She goes, you Auburn fans in Alabama, because our oldest daughter's an Alabama grad, are terrible. She goes, y'all win 49-14 and you're bitching about the 14 points you gave up. That's always been that way. But let's talk about Ole Miss and just your view from Baton Rouge, and that track meet from last year said a lot.
Yeah, well, dog catches the car. Charlie Brown kicks Lucy's finger, right? The one time she didn't pull the football away.
Yeah.
So when you're in that spot, and you've never really been there before, certainly I remember back to 2003. It was Eli's last year, and they had LSU in Tiger Stadium. And if they win that game, who knows what happens? They win the West and go to the SEC championship. They still hung a banner that they won the West, even though LSU beat them head-to-head that year. I guess they were technically tied. But, it seems like everyone in Oxford has gotten on board with NIL, and this is our shot. And they've got Jackson Dart back, right, at quarterback, and a lot of their key weapons, and they're going for it this year. They're all in. And so with Saban stepping down at Alabama and, LSU solid but not tremendous so far, in Brian Kelly's 2 years, they feel like it's their time. Now, I got to get used to, Rob, the East and West has gone away, right? I mean, we're lumping all the teams now in the SEC into one big column, right?
It is. Yeah, we talked about this with Paul Feinbaum was on the show Friday, and Tony Barnhart. It's going to look kind of rough. It used to be you finished 6th or 7th. That wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad as 15th or 16th this year. I mean, that's bad.
Yeah, Vandy's going to go from 12th to 14th to 16th.
That's right. Yes, that's not up for debate.
It's Beth Torina, a softball coach here, who went to 3 straight World Series at one point and 4 out of 6, and has had some trouble in regionals lately. And some fans are chirping, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully they make a run in the postseason. But we talk about it. I mean, they finished 8th in the SEC, and they're 10th in the country in the national polls. Yeah. And then they're welcoming in Texas and Oklahoma. Oklahoma's been Ivan Drago of softball there.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the thing about it. You're bringing in Texas and OU. That's going to be fun. I still know that the people in Baton Rouge are still waiting to welcome with open arms Texas and give them the same treatment they were given in 2019 when they put them in the gulag out there in Austin. I mean, that's Texas coming in the league. If you live in Lake Charles, and I've got several friends from Lake Charles, they go, we feel more like Texas. Houston's their city. The rest of the state, it's New Orleans and Baton Rouge. If you live in Jackson, Mississippi, or south, Louisiana's it's how this stuff works. All right, back on Ole Miss. I think they're going to be really good. Now let's flip over to your other side, Texas A&M. Y'all used to have a really good rivalry with them. Mike Elko's back. Mike Elko is much more in control, I think, than Jimbo was, because they've turned that program, in spite of all the money they've got, into an 8-5 program. And that isn't horrible, but by what they spend, it is. Are they going to be any better off with Texas, their bunkmate, in the same league now?
Well, it's going to make it tremendously interesting. I mean, to get those two teams back in the same stadium again. I think over the years, the Texas Bowl flirted with a Texas A&M matchup, and I think the message was sent: we don't want to do that. We don't want to play those guys from whatever side. And so now they're forced to do it. Texas A&M, that was their card over Texas, that we're in the SEC, we're in the best conference in America. You're not. Now Texas gets let in, and the Aggies are ticked off about that, I'm sure. So now, I Texas A&M. I remember one year we went over there. I think it was LSU played on Thanksgiving night, and I think the next day they knocked the stadium down. After we had left, and they had started their big renovation. And whatever $1 million project, and so certainly they got a lot of money over there. They got a huge student body and alumni base, and despite all the Aggie jokes you've heard, those people are pretty smart who go to school there and graduate there.
Yes.
So they got plenty of money, and so they've always just seemed to underachieved. Now, growing up, like you said, my first LSU games were in the late 80s, and that was just tradition. Every year you played Texas A&M first game, huge season opener. And then that went away in 1995.
That a 10-year deal,
And then LSU didn't play them again until a bowl game at the end of 2010. And then they got back in the league in 2013. So anyway, I think the SEC was always kind of looking for a rivalry to put at the end of the year, and they found it in the border rival LSU and A&M. The LSU Arkansas thing just never really materialized. There've been some great games, but LSU doesn't view Arkansas as a rival. That boot trophy, they laugh at that down here and stuff like that. So now you got Texas A&M back in the league. That's huge.
Yeah, and what's going to be fun is even though Arkansas is right there on the border with Oklahoma, they've only played about 17 times in history in 130 years. I think that'll be a fun one. That'll be – and Missouri, if Missouri keeps rising, it's going to be interesting. What happens if Arkansas makes a change in coaching? It ain't going to be Petrino. They're not going to make him the head coach. Woody Drinkowitz, who's from Alma, Arkansas, right there by Fort Smith, and the exit to go to – that'd be a fun one to watch. All right, a couple more minutes before you know you got to go. What is the big news on campus, though, other sports-wise, for anything at LSU that we're really not hearing about, that you, as a day-in, day-out sports director, the grind that people might want to start paying attention to heading in to the fall?
Well, as a sports director now, I'm honestly not spending as much time at LSU baseball games as I have in the past. I mean, in the past, I was out there every game covering, not every game, pretty much. John Eads is on our staff, a great young kid who's very good at his job, and he's been covering those games. Kevin Baptiste has been with us for 6 years. He's also very talented, hardworking guy. So I've been delegating a lot more, which in the beginning I kind of felt lazy about. I want to be there like I've always been, but you can't do both jobs. So, but right now, LSU baseball obviously won the national championship last year and they really have struggled out of the gate. They were 7-14 in the SEC. They just took 2 of 3 from Texas A&M, who was the top ranked team in the country. Won the first 2 games. The Sunday game went off the rails. LSU was up 3-0, and then they gave up 9 runs in a single inning and then lost in 10-run fashion. But LSU's got 2 SEC series left in baseball. They go to Tuscaloosa this weekend. Luke Holman, who pitched at Alabama, will be pitching against his old team. And then they host Ole Miss to close out the regular season. And then comes the SEC tournament if LSU gets in. So right now, LSU is trying to stay hot, so to speak, and get into the NCAA tournament. They will not host, barring something unseen. They'll have to go on the road and beat somebody else in their house, which if I'm another team, I don't want to be hosting LSU, So that's what's going on with that. The LSU gymnastics team, obviously 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago now, won the national championship, their first ever in program history. That was big news. Kim Mulkey has landed a bunch of players out of the portal after making the Elite 8 this year, winning the national championship 2 seasons ago. And then, the countdown to football season. We talk about Texas joining the SEC. A lot of people joking about the Texas arrogance. They joined the league and, okay, we got to go to Dallas for SEC Media Days, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure I'll see you there, right? In July.
Oh, yeah, I'll be there. Yeah. That's going to be July 15th to the 18th.
Yep. LSU's on the first day, as they have been for a number of years. I would guess they would bring Garrett Nussmeier. I would guess they might bring Greg Penn III or somebody like that. They haven't announced those names yet, but maybe Harold Perkins. Harold didn't do any interviews really for a while, so I'm not sure if they would take him, but he's obviously a big name. But
where is Harold Perkins from?
Texas, right?
Yeah,
because
I thought it was from Houston. Okay, Houston is so massive, but I know LSU does a lot of recruiting. Yeah,
I was looking him up this morning. Well, they list him as hometown New Orleans, Louisiana.
That's what I'm saying. I saw that, and that's why I'm asking you, because it says New Orleans, but I thought he was from Texas.
But it says he went to Cy Park High School. Where is Cy Park High School? That's
never heard of that in New Orleans. There's no saint named Cy. There's a lot of Our Ladies and saints and
Cypress Park High School. That's in Cypress, Texas.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Yeah. I'll just guess it's a suburb of Houston. Anything within 50 miles is considered a suburb of Houston. Jacques, we got to get you back on again more often. I know you've got a busy schedule, but really appreciate you taking time to join us. And there's always a lot to talk about with LSU and the SEC. Let people know how they can keep up with you. Two-time Louisiana Sportscaster of the Year, WAFB, Channel 9, and you've got your one-on-one with Brian Kelly, and that will be up on your – tell people how they can see that. I will be watching that, the whole thing.
Yeah, we're going to interview him this afternoon after lunch, and then hopefully by the end of the day I've got it posted. I would think at the latest Wednesday morning you should be able to see it. So hopefully I do a good job with that. Saw him yesterday. There was a golfing event. He made an appearance quickly but did not play. Said he had work to do. So and saw Matt McMahon there, the LSU men's basketball coach, and some other great guys too. I covered over the years, Justin Vincent and so forth. But at Jacques Doucet, as my name is listed there on Twitter, W Will A Alpha F Frank B Boy.com. That is our I say that because every time I'm on the phone and I say my email address, somebody goes, WFAN. No. I always get it wrong. So I always do that.
I love. Look, how about Brown with an E? I mean, the E is silent. Mr. Brown silent E. I know it's the E is it's Brown with an E. I've gotten off a couple of traffic tickets over the years because of that, but it's been a while. They didn't spell my name. I said, for the record. Anyway, Jacques, thank you so much. Let's do this again soon. Have a great rest of your week.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
You bet, man. Brenden Martin, Jacques that is a pro. I mean, absolute pro. Takes his craft seriously. That is like going to the guy that sharpens his own arrows and rolls his own rounds. Love having him on here. 2 times.
Rolls his own cigarettes.
Yes, that could be.
One hand.
Yeah, but he really is. And he'll do that one-on-one interview today with LSU coach Brian Kelly. That will be really good content to watch. And also, Brenden, you may be too young, but you would remember your dad, Cecil Collins.
I'm probably too young. I'm probably too young.
Well, no, but I'm saying Cecil Collins in 1997. He had
definitely too young. I'm too young.
3.5 game career. Remember him? He did a great documentary on Cecil the Diesel, what could have been. Check it out with Jacques Doucet. Cecil Collins, man, what a story that is. He's got a talent for documentary film. Just great stuff. WAFB
good
Channel
work.
9
It's good work if you can get it. It's just tough to get.
Well, what I would love to do would be to go out, and I just think about when Ward Pell, the widow of late Florida coach Charlie Pell, was on this show
you
a couple years ago.
Beard are fascinated with the Pell family.
Well, but it is because as someone who's not a Gator, I remember saying when they hired that guy, I said, he just looks like a Southeastern Conference badass coach. And I said, he talks the talk. He's from Alabama. He's going to turn Florida into a bunch of Spartans. And he did. But what Ward Pell said about Charlie Pell, he met with Ben Hill Griffin. He was a very successful businessman, loved the Gators. She sat and Ward Pell said her husband, Charlie Pell, sat on the front porch at Ben Hill Griffin's house, and they just talked and ate swamp cabbage. And listened, and he left with the biggest check ever given at that time to Gator Athletics. Yeah, it's a big cabbage. But I think it's cool. We're really getting into the weeds on Florida in ways we haven't before. Yeah. Because I've always followed Florida because that was a rival of Auburn's, along with Georgia Tech and Tennessee and the ones that we lost. I love that rivalry, but I've also it's with Florida, Brenden. It's always been what could be. And when Steve Spurrier, Charlie Pell got them rolling. They got in trouble for stuff that in today's world is okay. But Charlie Pell got everybody in that state. He formed and he ignited a populist movement. If you want to wear an orange and blue shirt and pull for the Gators, whether you graduated from Gainesville or not, we want you. And we want you on that Gator team.
Well, that's what you need.
And that's, you've got to have and I don't like it when I hear people say, this guy, he never went to school there. That doesn't matter. My mother
You're a fan.
did not go to Auburn, but she went to another college, but she loved it.
You're a fan.
You're a fan.
You never know. You never know when you're going to be touched by the Gator spirit, man.
That's right.
You never know, man. You can go and do it. Hey, I wanted to listen to this interview I downloaded from you
Houston Nutt last night. Great comments from Houston Nutt last night. Touchdown Club in Memphis. He was a speaker, part of the spring speaker series, and let's hear what he's got to say.
Coach, great talk tonight. Razorbacks now got Texas coming in. I remember what Orville Henry told Clay when Arkansas joined the SEC. His son said, "What does this mean, Dad?" And Orville Henry said, "It means we're playing Texas every weekend." What do you think Texas and OU are thinking right now? You talked about the grind. Expand on that.
They're playing Texas every weekend. They can use that because what they're getting in that grind that I'm talking about, the LSUs, the Georgias, the Alabama, it's the back-to-back-to-back. It's one thing getting ready for them in a bowl game. It takes 30 days and you have some time, but when you go back-to-back-to-back and then go ahead and throw Arkansas in there, throw Mississippi State, Ole Miss, I don't care who it is, you got to buckle up, and it's the grind of it, and so it's not easy.
We talked so much about NIL, but in the old days, if a kid busted his ass 4 or 5 years at a school, even if the only time he ran on the field was to hug his parents at senior day, he had NIL because he could show that ring, Razorback pride, Ole Miss or whatever. You think we'll get back to that? The free market will correct it somehow?
I don't know. Boy, I'm worried about it. I'm really worried about it. I don't know. I have a little faith right now in that because of the direction that it's going, and money is driving it, boy. And I'm worried a little bit about where our game is.
Yeah, and as far as like the kids' loyalty, Tim Horton is a good friend of mine. He loves you, and talked about. I said, what was it like recruiting Darren McFadden? He said, well, come on, you go to the house, they're calling the hogs and all, but what about guys like that coming back and talking to guys now and saying, look, money ain't always going to be there, but your Razorback family or wherever you go to school is. So important, and that's what you love so much about Darren, that he was so committed, and he got highly recruited. But this is what I worry about, the life lessons that you learn in football, the stick-to-itness, the perseverance. So many emails and texts I get from players that I coached 15, 20 years ago. Coach, those were the best days of my life because of the lessons I learned. Now I worry about, Coach yelled at me, I'll put my name in the portal. Oh, I didn't get to play very much today, I'll put my name in the portal. And I've helped people transfer before when things didn't work out. I get it. But it's so quick now. And it's just everything's a microwave oven type of deal. Wanted everything yesterday. And I just don't think it's good. Coach,
listen, Houston Nutt, great commentary. And he talked about, he was asked by a huge crowd last night at the Touchdown Club. And again, Monday night, this coming Monday, Greg McElroy will be there 5:30 at the Hilton in East Memphis. But he was asked about, you going to go back on TV? He did CBS for 11 years, Brenden. And I think, I know you can relate to this, but he said, he lives in McKinney, Texas, just north of Dallas. He's born and raised in Little Rock. And he talked about his dad. His dad was just an incredible man. Coached at the Arkansas, so did his mother, coached at the Arkansas School for the Deaf. And he said there's only one school for the deaf in every state. And he said they didn't care, black, white, big, tall, small, whatever. You could do the sign language. You're part of that family. He goes, my dad never made more than $35,000 a year in his life. But he did what he did because he loved it. And that's why I got into coaching. And he's so genuine and so real, Houston Nutt. And, Arkansas and Ole Miss, and he still loves Ole Miss, but it's the relationships with those players that he just absolutely cherishes. And he was asked, are you going to get back on TV? We all asked him that. But he said, I did it for 11 years, and that grind of flying up to New York on Thursday and getting home Sunday night or Monday Yeah, in New York with CBS. And he said the other thing is when you go to New York City and you want to go to a pharmacy or something to get something, you got to get them to unlock the windows, he said, because the crime's so bad up there. He goes, it's a different world. And he also has grandchildren now. He has 4 kids, great family man. And he talked about how much fun he got to go to his first ever tailgate this year. The first one he's ever been to in his life. He was the oldest of 4 boys, and he's a big guy. He's like 6'3". But man, he loves college football. And I want to see, he's going to be on this show Friday morning on Savant Friday with Doug and Frank and Dave and me and you. And that will be a lot of fun. But damn, he's got insight. And every question he was asked last night, he didn't back away from anything. I love that transparency.
Yeah. What was this for? What was the club you're at?
The Touchdown Club of Memphis. Harold Grader and the great people out there, Wayne Dowdle. And we'll be having Clint Dowdle on the show here soon, one of the top sports agents in America. It's a great group, the Touchdown Club of Memphis, and it's just the spring speaker series because, again, a lot of these guys, you can't get them in the fall, and you do a spring. And let me just assure you, there is always an appetite for college football in the South. I mean, and then you get great food. You got a cash bar. It's a lot. It's a lot of fun. And I was hoping Yancey Porter was going to be on with us this morning. I don't know if what happened with Yancey.
No, Yancey Porter. No, Rodney Orr.
Rodney Orr will be joining us here in just a minute.
You know what, though? I think he's here. I was going to ask him to come in anyway.
Is he knocking at the door?
He stole my cable.
Yeah.
To my computer, and now he's in my house. So I figured,
is he a fleeing felon?
Well, yeah, he is a fleeing. He's eating my food. I hear him, and now someone's knocking on the door. You know, he has an entourage that follows him.
Somebody's knocking on the door.
Yeah, somebody's ringing the bell.
Brendan, you know who you remind me of? I just figured it out.
Oh, tell me. I remind everybody of somebody.
My wife Mildred's favorite entertainer. It's not even close. She goes, he is the coolest, most badass personality, famous Tom Jones.
I don't even know who that is.
Oh, see? Tom Jones, what's up, Pussycat? Barking. You know, I mean, it's not unusual to be loved by anyone. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I'm not up on my TJ. Got to get a little bit better. But, you know, Buddy comes in. The dog goes crazy because Buddy feeds the dog snacks.
I heard that dog.
Oh, yeah. And then so he's happy. Now who knows? He's probably having like 35 things delivered at the front door. So he's around here. Buddy! Come here. What are you doing? Stop eating my food.
Well, I know.
Come in here.
I'm trying to think. Yancey, we went about some problems here. Yancey was going to be on with us this morning, I thought, and really Rodney Orr, but never at a loss of words, Brenden Martin. And I will say this. The coolest thing that I've seen.
You want to come on the show?
The coolest thing that I've seen in a long time is the discussion last night about some of the characters that are on the Paul Feinbaum show. I saw some pictures last night that were pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
The interest in college football. Coach Nutt was saying he's worried. The fact that the adults in the room, and Rodney Orr's going to be on with us here momentarily. But the
Buddy Martin, he's going to talk to you about it.
Yeah, and look, I like the swivel chair. Here comes Big Buddy. Look at that hat. Now that is a cool hat. Buddy Martin here. Hey, buddy.
It's one of the many hats I have here, which I never see anymore. But hey, Rob, how you doing?
Good, man. Listen, had a great time at the Touchdown Club last night. Talked to Houston Nutt was the guest, and man, you know, you remember those days when you worked with CBS back in the early '90s. You won an Emmy for your work, and he talked about that grind, about flying from McKinney, Texas, Dallas, to New York for 21 straight weeks. When you do that and you leave on Thursday, you get home Sunday night or Monday, whenever you can get a flight out of New York. Sometimes you can't get a flight, especially if the weather's bad. But the thing about all these coaches is you realize you may have just not liked them or hated them because they were beating your team when they were coaching. But boy, when they're gone, you really understand why we love this game so much. Because Houston talked about his dad never made more than $35,000 a year coaching at the Arkansas School for the Deaf. He goes, he wasn't coaching for the money. And so he's told a story about when Frank Broyles, his agent, Houston Nutt's agent was Jimmy Sexton. And he said that he goes, Frank, he goes, Coach Broyles is not going to talk to agents. He goes, I don't do that, Houston. And he said, he goes, well, there's 6 coaches in the Southeastern Conference making over $1 million a year. And he goes, Houston, we don't do that here at the University of Arkansas. He goes, do you know what the hardworking people of Arkansas would do if we paid you $1 million? Think about that. Frank Broyles would say that. And he goes, well, it all worked out, but it's a different world that we live in. Buddy, I'm going to be on the show with you tonight. I know Tuesday night. But do you remember when the first coaches were making more than $100,000 a year? Was that a big deal?
I remember when Ray Graves was hired at Florida. I think he made $60,000, and the president of the university said, "You can't make any more than that because that's all I make."
Wow,
so, that was 1960. So that's what I go back to. Money's irrelevant now. Nothing's all funny money. I remember when Spurrier became the first $1 million coach. I remember when he came from Duke to Florida, and the deal, he was agent. He didn't have one. It was an attorney, Bill. He said, ask him for an interest-free loan. And he told Spurrier, you can't get that. He said, I think I can. I just need an interest-free loan that's forgivable. He said, well, I don't think we'll do it. I'll ask. They asked the board, they said, yeah, we can do that. He never had to pay it back. It was like $50,000, whatever it was. So, yeah. It's completely different. The money has changed everything. Hopefully we can hold on to some of the values that we so adore and trust in. And, we'll see what it brings. I'm trying to have a positive outlook.
Yeah.
My show last night, I talked about the importance of you can choose every day what your mood ought to be.
That's right. Absolutely.
And most of the time you can pick it. Sometimes you can if you're in a funk, but you can choose to be positive or negative. As I was telling Shane last night, I'm choosing now to look from the positive side after being accused of being a Gators sunshine pumper. I've been through a negative trough here in recent years, 3 straight years of non-winning, not losing, because when you're 500, it's not losing, but it's not winning. And this is not what I'm accustomed to. So as I wrote my column this week, I just bought my 4th laptop. If those other 3 laptops could talk about what we went through with together, the last one went through Dan Mullen's regime, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just all different. And by the way, I did get a report back about you from somebody that you might be impressed with, that you apparently passed the test. His name is Paul Feinbaum.
Well, that was fun. That was really cool of him and Tony Barnhart Friday to be on there with us.
Well, I talked to him about
loved it. Yes.
I talked to him about it. I said, does this guy Rob Browne, is he driving you crazy? He said, actually, it was fun.
Yeah.
So,
he was, thank you. That was awesome having him on. And I was with some of his friends at the table last night that, I think I'm going to have to send him some Pete and Sam's restaurant food over to Charlotte. And that was awesome. Hey, buddy, let's bring Rodney Orr on Tighter and Cider. I know.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rodney. I didn't know you were on.
Yeah. I just saw him on here. And, you talk about playing jump ball football the last 3 years. Same thing at Auburn. One place where they've been doing a lot of winning is Tuscaloosa. Rodney Orr, Tighter and Cider, the May Veterinary Clinic, Tuscaloosa and Northport. 2 locations, open every day. Sundays, drop off and pick up only at Camp May. for dogs and cats. They have a pool. They have connecting cat condos, but it's only $48 a year for Tider Insider. Coming up on 28 years of Rodney providing the best coverage of the Crimson Tide. Yay, Alabama. Dun, 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 dun. Hey, Rodney, how are you? I can't sing. Don't worry.
You might lose your Auburn season tickets, Rob. You keep on singing that song.
By the way, we were at my friend John Turner's funeral last Thursday, and one of his childhood friends from Monroeville, Alabama, spoke, and so much of it was about how much he loved Alabama. His son, Jacques, was incredible, as was Mr. Van Steinberg. It was just an incredible deal, but boy, you realize how football pulls everybody together. And I know first time I ever heard of you was in 1996 from John Turner at work about this guy, Rodney Orr. He'd moved back from Corpus Christi, born in Mobile, and now he's in Tuscaloosa. So
did he play hockey, by the way? I think I heard that name, Orr.
Yeah, Orr. I know. Rodney, you got
I claim him.
I don't blame you.
Bobby Orr, that was it.
Yeah.
Hey, what's happening in Tuscaloosa right now? I know they've spring practice is wrapped up, but ain't ever a dull moment down there.
Yeah. First of all, a couple of things, Rob. Want to say, John Turner was a great friend of mine. I mean, I knew him we had a mutual acquaintance, and John stayed in touch with me regularly. He was a fantastic guy. And then also, I want to really say this about a good friend of mine that I know you guys are very familiar with, Hootie Ingram. And Coach Ingram, as you probably heard, passed away yesterday. He was the athletic director here for several years at Florida State. Hootie actually called me last Friday, and we had a great conversation. And he was looking forward to getting back to Tuscaloosa. He had had a little issue that he was dealing with but anyway, it was just really kind of a shocking thing to me. I guess it shouldn't have been. Hootie was 90 years old, but I just wanted to mention that and what a great guy he was, and what a good relationship and a great friendship I had with him, and certainly going to miss Hootie Ingram. But as far as Alabama,
Rodney, I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No, go ahead.
You tend to think those guys are going to live forever.
Yeah. I mean, he was sharp as a tack. When we talked on Friday, we spoke on Friday for nearly 25 minutes. And I mean, you would have never known anything was going wrong with Hootie. And, he was sharp. He was, he said he wanted to catch up a little bit on what he missed the last few weeks. I mean, he wanted to know everything, but so certainly going to be missed. But you ask about the latest on Alabama, and I think you have to start with basketball and the big pickup that they got on Sunday from Cliff Omori, the transfer from Rutgers, 6'11", 240. This is a great roster that Nate Oates is putting together for next year, and we know it's a year-to-year deal now, but certainly they should be very talented next year. And Omori is a guy that has a lot of people excited because, he's one of the final pieces to the puzzle.
Yeah. And you know what? Grant Nelson's coming back. And then also, is there talk? One of my fraternity brothers, Matt Rayburn Construction, did the retrofit on Sewell Stadium in baseball. Is there a possibility that they're going to be building a new basketball arena in Tuscaloosa?
Rob, there's been a lot of talk about that for the last few years, but everything I've heard is it's pretty much they're building a new locker room and a training facility for it's what Nate Oates wanted. I don't think we're going to see anything in terms of almost a wreck here on the interstate. But no, I don't think there's anything that we're going to see in terms of a new arena right away in terms of getting started. But, maybe they've got some plans I'm not aware of.
Yeah. Well, buddy, I think you'll agree with me. The people from Guinness Book of World Records just called. They confirmed May 7th is the latest date ever. There's been discussion about Alabama basketball ever. That's how big going to the Final Four is, Rodney. Buddy, jump in here with this conversation.
I just was thinking about the phone call yesterday that I heard on the show, your friend Paul Feinbaum. You seem to be hanging around with him a lot lately, Rob. I guess you're buds. And there's some guy called in and said from Texas and said, you guys didn't invent football in Tuscaloosa. Out here in Texas, we've been playing in big games forever, hundreds of years. You guys weren't even relevant till so and so and so and so. I mean, it went on and on. I thought, oh my goodness, here we go.
Yeah.
The Texans are out of it again.
They've been losing a lot of big games too, buddy.
Yeah. I lived in Colorado 17 years, and every year about May 1st, we'd say, okay, the slopes are safe. We can go skiing. The Texans have gone home finally. And it's they are going to own everything, dominate everything, be the best and biggest of everything. Now, I got some good friends who are Texans. Matter of fact, two guys that went to school with me played ball, guys named Billy Booker and Dave Fannin. Great guys, great friends from Texas. I have many good friends from Texas, but as a group, they tend to be, let's just say, they grate on you after a while, okay? Because they got the best of everything. Here's what I want to say, message out there to my friends from Texas. This ain't
buddy.
Yeah.
I can second your little testimony there. I mean, I grew up there. I've got a lot of friends that are Texas fans, and of course, I got a lot of phone calls and text messages the night back in September when they beat Alabama here in Tuscaloosa. Yeah. And I could have said, listen, I wanted to say, this is not the Alabama. You didn't just beat the Alabama of a few years ago. This is not the same Alabama. But, you're right. I mean, you would never know that, they weren't the greatest program in the history of all sports. That's just kind of the way they are.
Yeah, just to finish that thought on the message to my friends from Texas, this ain't the Southwest Conference, okay?
True.
Win a few games in the SEC. You won one or two. Win some. Come back and talk to us about it then. It's fine programs both at Oklahoma and Texas. Going to be a strong conference. But don't come in here saying you're the boss of the SEC because you're not.
Yeah. Yeah. Rodney, and that's the thing about it is that Houston Nutt was at the Touchdown Club in Memphis last night. He talked about OU in Texas. He said, yeah, you get 30 days to prepare for a bowl game or an opponent. That's one thing. But
yes.
It's a completely separate conversation when you got to go line up week in and week out and play Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Auburn, Texas A&M, LSU, South Carolina, Tennessee, Ole Miss. I mean, that's a completely different deal. Totally different.
That's a great point. I mentioned that somewhere last week. Kenny might have been on JiderInsider.com that, I'm going to be interested to see how Texas handles the week-to-week grind in the SEC, starting this year because, I really thought that Texas should have probably lost a few games last year. They got very fortunate against very average teams, in my opinion. And you know what? It's going to be interesting, that week-to-week grind. How does it's one thing to get up for Alabama when they come to Austin, and you play the game of your life and all of that stuff. But like you said, the next week, how you gonna respond when you've got to go play whoever it is, Georgia or somebody else, Tennessee and Knoxville or Auburn or whoever? I think that's just the real challenge, just to be able to, kind of bounce back every week.
Well, what I remember as a young bond salesman on the trading floor is, you make a big sale, you're all excited, and your sales manager will say, hey, get back on the phone and do it again. The only easy day was yesterday, son. I mean, that's what you're talking about with the grind. Buddy Martin, you heard what Rodney just said, and I didn't realize you lived in Denver for 17 years. But by the way, I saw that picture of you, buddy, you and your wife with Steve Spurrier. You're tall. You're like 6'3" or 6'4". I didn't realize you and Brenden. And I met Houston Nutt last night. He's 6'3", and Coach Bryant was 6'3". I'm sitting there thinking about it, man.
I can't believe we've done all these shows. We've actually never met. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I go to Florida. I'll be down in Orange Beach this summer, but I'll cross that Florida line right there.
And
Rodney.
You'll be doing my show quite a bit too, by the way. just so you know.
I'm looking forward to it, man. And we can't do it without a great team, because every time you get on that microphone, Pat Sullivan was right. It's an entire group. But, man, I love the fact that I did not know how long you lived in Denver and wrote all those years as sports editor of the Denver Post.
Well, I didn't. I wasn't the Post for 8 of those years. I was the media director for the International Golf Tournament, and I also did some local TV.
Okay.
So I wasn't doing that. But I was often, I lived part of the time in Florida and part of the time in Denver. Not that anybody cares. In the last 4 or 5 years, I was there. But it was a wonderful city. I loved it. Great. Brenden still claims he's from Denver.
He does.
He's born in St. Pete. No, it's a great city and great sports town. So, but, everybody thinks listen. When I went to Denver, and Rodney, you'll appreciate this. My friend Woody Page, who just was voted to the Hall of Fame last week. Congratulations, Woody, out there in Colorado.
Yeah,
he's from Tennessee. He'd been out there ahead of me 4, 5, 6 years, and we went to the Folsom Field for the games. And he looked at me and said, "Buddy, this ain't the SEC." And I go there, and they've had 45, 48,000. I said, "Wow, we got a full house." I'm like, "Boys, this ain't even half full in the SEC. It's not even the SEC." He says, "I know, buddy. It's a whole different deal." And that's back when Bill McCartney was struggling to get on the map again. So it took a while, but it became better. But no, SEC is let's just say it is what it is. There'll never be anything better, and they can keep adding to or taking away. But the SEC has been something special.
Yeah, it is. And Rodney, as you get going into this season, Kalen DeBoer, you and Gary do a great show, Tider Insider TV. In fact, it's on live tonight at 6:30 p.m. For fans that are watching this show, and because of the web, you got fans everywhere. We got people watching this show, and it's like 48 different countries we've seen so far, and then all over America and all. What are y'all talking about tonight? Or is it kind of like, you never know till you get there? I know you say that, but it's a great show, and it's like Buddy Martin's show. It's all about Alabama. His show all about the Gators, but you also relate to, I call it the tectonic plates theory. What happens in Tuscaloosa, what happens in Gainesville, there are reverberations nationwide.
Hey, listen, by the way, what happened in Gainesville last night? Ric Flair got kicked out of a restaurant. It was night before last. Ric Flair got kicked out, yeah.
Nature boy.
USA Today, yeah. How about that?
Damn. Wow, that's hard to believe. But Rodney, what are y'all going to talk about tonight?
Probably, and again, I haven't spoken to Gary about it, but I'm assuming we'll talk basketball, some of the things that we discussed about the roster Nate Oates is putting together, the addition of Cliff Omari from Rutgers, as we mentioned. And you know what, Rob, I'm sure we'll touch on several other sports, whatever it is. We even touch on softball some, and they're struggling right now. Patrick Murphy's done a fantastic job through the years at the softball program, but they've slipped this year. So, we talk about a little bit about everything, and we take calls, we take emails, tweets, all of that. So, you just, when you live it all week, you're pretty much prepared when you go in, It
never feels like work, though. I'll tell you this, that every time I do this show and I have you on and Buddy and get to be on his show, it reminds me of when I was 9 years old, Christmas Eve, hoping I got my Schwinn Sierra bicycle. It's that much fun because we love the game and the fans do. Buddy, what you do is so critical, and Brenden and Franz and David Whitley and Moulton and Ben Troop and Allie Peak Wilbur, all this coverage, people are craving it. They're starved for local coverage, and everything they hear, they're hanging on for it. That's what I love about doing the show.
One thing has happened, Rob, pardon me if I interrupt you. One thing has happened, I will say, that some of us predicted was, as ESPN grew and got bigger, and Feinbaum's show is an exception, is they really have basically left the roots. they're getting down to the nitty gritty of what people want to know about their football team in their town, and we're finding that these specialty programs in areas like ours, where we focus, like Rodney, people in Alabama, they want to know about the Tide, and of course, the Tigers. But in Florida, it's a Johnny One Note for us. We talk Florida pretty much 95% of the time. We'll every now and then talk SEC, but Rob, as you know, we're under the same umbrella now with SEC sidelines, so ours is broadened, but we still will be indigenous to what happens in Gainesville and Ocala.
Yeah. And Rodney, that's why we love you being part of SEC Sideline Sports Network and SECU, because what you and Gary are doing, Gary's on the show every week, and it's, the local coverage, you got to work around some things right now. But let me ask you this. Is there any less interest now than there was 15 years ago in what goes on at Alabama?
No, I don't know that. I don't have anything that I could actually gauge that by. I think things have changed quite a bit. Obviously, I mean, I look at my board and the responses, among some of the fans, and Alabama's a little bit different though. Let me say this: when you win 6 national championships in 11 years, it's I hate to put it this way, but you almost become numb to it. I mean, watching the Ohio State national championship in 2020, and it was great. I'm glad they won, but it's just like feeling anymore. But again, you don't want to lose, but at the same time, what I'm trying to say is there's a different feel with Alabama fans. But now, with Saban gone, I think it's kind of, people getting a little bit more kind of back to that interest level that they were. Listen, I'll be honest with you, and I don't know, Buddy and them, I think they have a website, but we had some people that didn't renew. We lost some members over the period of Saban's tenure, and I would call some and say, hey, what's going on? Is there something we're doing wrong? Oh no, we just know that we're going to recruit the number 1 class. Feel really confident we're going to play for another national championship. And I just don't have that same vigor that I once did. Right. So I think you're seeing that kind of come back with a little bit with, DeBoer right now.
And that's Buddy, what he just said. I've even had friends of mine that are Alabama fans in the last 10 years tell me it's just no fun like it used to be together because we're going to win 56-3. And I said, are you being serious? They said, Browne, I'm not kidding. But all it takes is an 8-4 or 9-3 season to scare everybody back in place, Rodney.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, like I said, I think fans are already kind of perking back up and, you're kind of feeling that a little bit. So, we'll see. But, overall, as far as the interest level, the interest level is always going to be strong. It may wane a little bit here and there, but it's always going to be strong.
Yeah, and no doubt about it. A few more minutes before we wrap up. Sidelines, SEC Sideline Sports Network and SECU with Buddy Martin here with us, Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider, Buddy Martin, GatorbaitMedia.com. But Buddy, any other thoughts along the line?
Well, tonight I hope we have a good show tonight. I'm sure we will with you. And in fact, I'm going to duck out of here and go get my insurance policy on my car before I have a wreck and get arrested. But it's good talking to you, Rodney, and Bob, I'll talk to you tonight.
Hey, Buddy, by the way, if y'all ever want Alabama coverage, get Rodney Orr on there. Yeah. I've never had so many people come up to me and say, not only does he do a great job of covering, he's just a good man and incredible dad.
But Alabama's not relevant anymore. It's all Texas.
Yeah, right. That's right. All right, Buddy, have a great day, man. That was fun. See you tonight. Rodney, the thing is that I've noticed over the years, and before we wrap it up, is you can get pulled into like an allure. It's like an elixir, like a drug. When you're winning so much, you start not getting as excited. And boy, you better appreciate it because it doesn't last forever. But I think you made a really good point. But your forums that you have on Tighter Insider are solid gold. Talk about that and how people can follow you, and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, you cut out for a second there, Rob, but it's TigerInsider.com. I assume that's what you were asking. TigerInsider.com. Yeah. It's only $48 a year, and you can get instant access with your credit card. If you prefer, there is an address there to send a check. Gives you all our premium information, but also, our all sports forum. That's our community of Alabama fans that never stops there on TigerInsider.com. And of course, our book, my book, Bigger Than Bama. Yep. And it's available, RodneyOrr.com, RodneyOrr.com, or you can find it on Amazon, and it's $19.95 plus shipping and handling.
Yeah, we've got it, the QR code up on the screen right now, so that will be evergreen content out there forever. But, man, thank you so much for being on the May Veterinary Clinic Tiger Insider Report, Rodney. I'm going to watch Tiger Insider TV tonight with you and Gary, and we'll do this again next week. Listen, remember, folks, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world. Every day, find excuses to win. Think about that. Let that sink in, man. SEC, SEC, SEC. And Brenden, did you send your hat back, by the way?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. We're gonna get. We're gonna get. What's your size? 7 3/4, 8?
Oh, bigger. I measured it. Stella wrote it down. I think it's like 8.
Okay. Hoss Cartwright wore a 10-gallon hat.
Well, Buddy's got like about a 20.
All right. I'll see you tonight, man. Thank you so much.
Are we doing the show tonight? What are we doing tonight? Why are you freaking me out?
Yeah, because last night I had to switch because I was at the Touchdown Club of Memphis for the Houston Nutt talk. So,
all right.
Anyway,
all right.
We'll be there.
All right. Well, we'll be there tonight. Talk to you guys soon.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Good job, everybody.
Great job. Thanks for watching.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shopp's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal and the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
Boss of the Vitamin Shop. 2 locations, Olive Branch and Oxford, Mississippi. Proud to have them as a sponsor of SEC Sidelines, Sports Network, and SECU. Justin, tell us about your stores and why somebody wants to come there.
Rob, thanks for having me. Look, really 3 reasons, I think, why people should come to the Vitamin Shop. One is products. We've got more products than anyone. You're talking vitamins, you're talking sports nutrition, you're talking energy drinks, snack bars, all of that. We've got as much product as anyone in the business. 2, prices. We got the best prices, and we will price match, Rob. If you go to Walmart, you go to Amazon.com, you go to Target and find it, we match. Why not shop local, shop with us? And then finally, our health enthusiasts. The people that work in our store know more about vitamins and supplements than anyone I know. If you come in with any problem, they will help you to find a vitamin or a supplement or any product that will help you for that problem.
Yeah, I shop there. My wife does. We love it. I think the employees make the difference there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Super helpful. And the knowledge is just unbelievable. Knowledge of the products, knowledge of the human body, fitness, wellness, all that.
Yeah. Look, you get 1 trip to the plate, make it count, take care of yourself. Shop at the Vitamin Shop, Olive Branch in Oxford, Mississippi.